Hi, this is Daria, and this video is about practicing. It's about how to set reasonable expectations of yourself each time you practice, and maybe for the long term, like for weekly expectations and so on. So what are those expectations should be based on, and how to do that? So first, an important thing is to know yourself. Really, it's more like in psychology, but sure, to know yourself, you should know how you work and how you focus. You should know your own pace and don't expect yourself to be as fast, maybe moving as others, if you know that you are more of a slow-paced person who takes everything very deeply and it takes time, but you might get way farther than people who are faster, but maybe not as deep. But it doesn't, you just know yourself, how you work particularly. When you are giving time at the piano. Not just work at anything in general, but particularly related to piano practice. So once you analyze yourself a bit, you start getting more familiar with your own ways of doing this. Based on that, set your expectations. For example, if you know for you, I know it's not always possible to adjust that. If you're working a whole day, you can't set your practice session in the morning, but sometimes maybe you can do it before work or something. So if you're a person who works better on this kind of thing in the morning, or basically find your brightest hour, so to say. Or if you know that this week you can only practice at night and you know that you're gonna be tired and usually it's not your best, so don't expect at the end of the week the same result as you would get if you're practicing on your brightest hour, you know. Also, it depends on your physical and emotional state each day. If something happened at work or in your personal life and you need to practice, and you might even want to skip the session, but if you are diligent and you know that's bad, you're going to do it, but you're not going to be as engaged as you were if you were happy or everything was fine, you know. Account for that. So that's number one, knowing yourself, basically, and your environment. Based on that too, don't expect consistent result after each practice session. We're all human beings, and I've learned that the hard way, where I was really upset because I couldn't get the same type of response from myself every single day, because I was counting on that at the end of the month, and it just didn't work, and I ended up injuring myself, actually. So do not do that. Number two is how fast your fingers adapt to the new routine. That has to do with muscle memory. If your muscle memory is really quick, for some people, great. Then you might be advancing faster in the technical aspects of practice, and you can expect more of yourself based on that. And if you're on a slower side, don't beat yourself up about it. Just be clear if that's who you are, accept it, and move on your own pace. Number three, how much control you usually provide over that each rep that you do when you practice. How much control do you have over the task execution, so-called, right? Are you a person who's really well focused on detail and you are aware of how you are controlling everything? Okay, I'm not just practicing, my mind isn't wandering somewhere, I'm actually in it. For some of us it's difficult, and our minds start wandering, and 10 minutes after, like, oh, it's already been 10 minutes, I feel like it just started, you know, things like that. So know that about yourself, and if you need to remind yourself to keep focus, then do it. Maybe set an alarm that will sound like every 5 minutes, so make sure, oh, okay, there's been already 5 minutes, oh boy, you know what I mean, or do a 10 minutes alarm or something like that. I do that for myself for every hour, and sometimes if I have a limit, if I limit my practice for that particular piece to 30 minutes, I set an alarm for 30 minutes. So I know at the end of this, no matter where I am at the piece, even if I didn't reach my goal, I'm still going to finish and move on. Number four, don't always expect immediate results, especially when it comes to working on technical stuff, technical passages, so faster routines and things like that. Because our brain needs to sleep on it, our muscles take time to adjust, and oftentimes I would see that I've been pushing myself really hard. I know I have, I'm honest with myself, and it's still, I was almost there, or I got it, like, you know, those 3 reps, I got it the 3 times, and then I wanted to check myself again for the 4th time, and I failed. And I feel like, man, that sucks. But what I do know is that the next day, I will get it. I will come back to it, and it's going to be good. Sometimes I'm surprised by how much better it becomes the next day, even though the day before it seemed like it was a disaster and I didn't really get anywhere. So be patient and wait till the next day and see your result then. Number 5, better start with the modest expectations of yourself and then move on to the higher ones if those modest ones are working out well for you. As you get a sense of how that particular piece is progressing, you will be able to pace yourself better, because each piece is very different from another. Even if they employ similar technique, or even if they're the same composer, it doesn't matter. It's still a new relationship and you don't know how it's going to go, so you need to adjust again. For example, if you expect yourself only simply to connect one line for 2 hands per day, you just do what's it, like 1 page, 5 lines of 1 line per day. If you do that for a couple of days and then you feel like, okay, maybe I can do 2 lines or 1.5 lines this day, and you feel, oh wow, I overaccomplished, so great. Rather than I'm expecting myself to do 2 lines per day and I was only able to do 1, that sucks. You know, this is, again, simple psychology. Don't expect too much. It's better to expect a little less and then overdo it. It doesn't mean be lazy in your expectation. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to take 3 months to learn this easy piece, which you could actually learn in 2 weeks. Don't do that. That's a little bit extreme, but you understand, I hope. Number 6, a little banal, but extremely important to keep in mind, is that the best thing to do is expect a little bit of progress each day and set a bigger progress goals for the long term, because little steps will take you very far. Again, very banal, but it's so true, especially with practicing instrument. Here, consistency is your key. Every day, okay, that's the best. For example, if you were comparing, I'm gonna practice, I didn't practice for 4 days, but today I'm gonna practice 4 hours to make up for those 4 days I didn't practice, which are supposed to do 1 hour a day. It's not gonna give you the same result. I'm sorry, it's gonna be worse than if you practice 1 hour per day for 4 days. Or you can do that with different amount of days and hours, but it's still gonna give you the same thing. And number 7 is actually going back to one of the points I've mentioned before, but just to reiterate. Keep in mind, each new piece is unique in its challenges. And it's a new relationship for you, which you do not know how it's going to go. It's unfamiliar yet. So be ready to adjust your goals, no matter how good you are at setting your goals and how well you know yourself. Be open to adjusting that in order to match the demands of the particular piece or your relationship with it. Just to reiterate one more time, maybe that point wasn't as clear before, that if you are practicing and you notice there is a mistake in a certain place, do not go back to the beginning. Do not go back 5 measures before. Do not go back 1 measure before. Do not play 2 hands together. If it's only the right hand issue, then practice that little, like what I was showing you with thumb, that transition. So cut the segment smaller and smaller and smaller with that. Just take that magnifying glass and only that place. Then take a little more context around it. Perhaps a little, connect the whole passage in the right hand first. Then add the left hand. Or if it's the other way around. So basically, isolate the problematic spot. Work that first so you're comfortable. And then add all the other things. Because if you're going to keep doing it all together, and even no matter how much you try to focus on that particular spot, you physically need to try that movement, to isolate that movement. So, very important. This is all I wanted to say about those 3 important things, is setting your goals for the practice session, goals which are effective and achievable, how to set reasonable expectations for yourself for each practice session and for long-term expectations, and of course, what does practicing really mean and how does it look like in reality. I hope this was helpful, and the next video will be on how to structure an effective practice session for yourself. And as always, I appreciate all your comments about the video below, any suggestions for another topic that you might think of, and thank you for your time, thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!